News 9. This is breaking news.
And that breaking news from federal court, where moments ago a jury found crime boss Mike Miske guilty on multiple charges, including murder, attempted murder, kidnapping, and the use of a chemical weapon.
This is a live look outside of federal court. Today's verdict comes after a lengthy 6-month trial. Jurors reached the decision following 3.5 days of deliberations. And we have team coverage tonight. That's
right. Chief investigative reporter Lynn Kawano is inside the courtroom. But we start with our Ben Gutierrez, who is outside federal court with the latest details. Ben.
Mark, Ash, there were 16 counts that were still on, that Miske was still on trial for. The jury returned the verdicts, as you said, after deliberating since last Friday. Now, it found Miske guilty of racketeering, along with the murder of Jonathan Fraser and attempted murder of Joe Boy Tavares. However, the jury did find Miske not guilty for the attempted murder of Lindsay Kinney. Jurors also returned not guilty verdicts for counts related to drug possession involving cocaine and methamphetamine. They also found Miske not guilty for bank fraud. However, there were several other charges that Miske was found guilty on that involved murder, attempted murder, and kidnapping. To run down the counts, again, there were 16 of them. Miske was found guilty of murder, attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder for hire, kidnapping, conspiracy to use a chemical weapon, and obstruction of justice. The charges that he was found not guilty on included bank fraud, drug crimes, and the 1 count of attempted murder for Kinney. Now, the jurors had sat through 6 months of trial. They heard from nearly 300 witnesses and considered thousands of exhibits. There was some confusion a day ago or so when jurors asked the judge in the case how to handle crimes that Miske did not know about, but Judge Watson, federal Judge Watson, told them to go back to their jury instructions, and after that, they were able to come back with verdicts on the various counts, 16 of them. Miske once again found guilty on 13 of them, including the murder of Jonathan Fraser and also for the attempted murder of Joe Boy Tavares and also for racketeering. We'll have more details and more reaction throughout the afternoon. For now, reporting live outside of federal court, Ben Gutierrez, Hawaii News Now.
Thank you so much, Ben. And be sure to stay with Hawaii News Now. We'll have team coverage throughout the night on air on our mobile app and online at hawaiinewsnow.com.
A 34-year-old man convicted of killing his Pearl City roommate 2 years ago has been sentenced to life in prison. A jury convicted Scott DAngelo for second-degree murder and arson in April for stabbing his friend Damon Cox in the neck and then setting their Lehua Avenue apartment unit on fire. Evidence showed DAngelo was upset that Cox asked him to move out. The night of the fire, DAngelo jumped from their 4th-floor unit and fled before he was arrested in Hauula.
My desire is that this young man remain incarcerated for as long as you possibly can have him there, so that no other parent or person would have to feel what I'm feeling.
I'm going to get my master's degree because of my brother. I looked up to him, not pleading that you can give the man who took my brother away the maximum sentence.
DAngelo will not be seen.
DAngelo's life sentence does come with the possibility of parole.
A woman is dead after being struck by 2 vehicles this morning in Kaneohe. Police say the first driver, a 75-year-old man, hit the 32-year-old as she was walking along Kamehameha Highway at around 2 a.m. HPD says a second vehicle, possibly a commercial dump truck, drove off after striking her while she was lying in the road. The 75-year-old man remained at the scene. Speed is not believed to be a factor. Drugs and alcohol are under investigation. The Department of Education will close Lahaina Public Schools on August 8th, the 1-year anniversary of the wildfire that devastated the community. Our Annalisa Burgos joins us now with what that means for student instruction requirements. Annalisa.
That's right, Ash. The DOE requires to give students a minimum of 180 school days each year. Now, this closure would mean 1 less school day. It doesn't sound like much, but when added to the loss of instruction last school year, it raises questions about learning loss. So during a special BOE meeting today, DOE Superintendent Keith Hayashi asked the board members to waive that minimum instructional requirement and close King Kamehameha III Elementary, Princess Nahi'ena Elementary, Lahaina Intermediate, and Lahaina Luna High Schools on August 8th. Hayashi and school leaders said the closure would allow employees and students to attend commemorative events and healing activities. The BOE approved the day off after discussing ways to mitigate the impact on students potentially falling behind and parents who aren't able to take off from work.
Our schools are checking into that to see what other kinds of resources and services are available for our parents.
There is a loss of instructional days, and I think that there needs to be a plan to make up not necessarily the hours, but the performance. And I would encourage you to look at generally the Lahaina schools' academic performances and the goals, and just make sure that we still have a obligation at the end of the day for the furthering of our students.
Lahaina school principals said they offered summer learning and plan to provide more academic support for students. And one principal said that many employees were affected by the fires and had planned to take the day off. So this closure allows them to process the tragedy without compromising student safety. Annalisa Burgos, Hawaii News Now.
U.S. Army Garrison Hawaii now has its first female commander. Colonel Rachel Sullivan is now in charge after a ceremony this morning held at Schofield Barracks. Sullivan takes over for Colonel Steve McGonigal, who took command 2 years ago. She previously served as an assistant chief of staff for civil military operations in Texas.
To our soldiers, our Army families, and to the people and Aina of both our great nation and the state of Hawaii, I am beyond excited to be part of this incredible team that is so critically important to our readiness and security here in the Pacific.
Colonel McGonigal has accepted a position at the Pentagon.
And we're definitely feeling the difference with those slower winds. Slower winds are bringing up the heat, 85 degrees, but feels more like 88 degrees when you factor in the humidity. So a few degrees warmer than the actual thermometer readings. We'll keep that going into the next several days. But at least at night, it's nice and comfortable. That area of high pressure is pulling away from us, and that's the reason why we're seeing the slowdown in the winds. Right now, anywhere from 10 to 15 miles per hour into your Aloha Friday. We'll keep that going into Saturday as well. And then a boost in the trade wind flow into next week. But for now, limited rain. We're not seeing a whole lot on the scope. We are expecting a few more showers starting Friday night. I'll take a deeper look at that coming up in a little bit. And look who's back. Let's check in with Jonathan with our first alert traffic.
Well, it's good to be back. And a good thing is traffic isn't all that bad today. So let's get to our flow map right away. A couple of incidents to tell you about. One in town. This is off of Lusitana and Land Lane. That's right in the Makiki area right there. Getting a little bit further out there, you can see a lot of good color here. Not all that red today, but another accident at Olune and Kahua Palani Street. Moving to the H1H2, not all that bad. That merge looking pretty nice. In fact, no problems going up to Wahiwa or Mililani. Eva Plain looking pretty good as well. So your drive times are going to look like this. Mililani about 41 minutes, to Kapolei the same at 41, and to Nanakuli about 50 minutes. First alert traffic, Mark and Ash, back to you.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. While President Biden isolates with COVID-19, there are reports of high-level Democrats making a push for him to reconsider his re-election bid.
But his campaign says they are pressing onward. Vice President Kamala Harris brought the message to voters in North Carolina this afternoon. Skylar Henry has the latest.
Vice President Kamala Harris hit the campaign trail in Fayetteville, North Carolina Thursday afternoon, pitching President Joe Biden as the clear choice for the middle class.
With every decision he makes in the Oval Office, he thinks about how it will impact working Americans. He understands.
She did not address what many are questioning: President Biden's ability to stay the course to November. Campaign leadership speaking from Milwaukee tamped down talk of a shuffle.
Our campaign is not working through any scenarios where President Biden is not the top of the ticket. He is and will be the Democratic nominee.
President Biden is isolating at his home in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, where doctors say he is experiencing mild COVID symptoms. It's just the latest setback in his re-election campaign. Former President Obama's office declined to comment on a Washington Post report that he has expressed concerns to allies about a, quote, diminishing path to re-election, but said the two leaders speak frequently. On Capitol Hill, Democratic leadership, including Congressman Hakeem Jeffries and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, have spoken with President Biden in the past week over party concerns. Others in the party are stressing unity.
He is our nominee. And unless or until he suggests different, we got work to do.
There are a little more than 100 days left until voters decide if they think President Biden is ready for another term. Skyler Henry, CBS News, the White House.
Former President Donald Trump addresses the Republican National Convention on its closing night. I'm Natalie Brand in Milwaukee with what to expect and what Republicans say they want to hear.